lesson 4.02 independent practice for grade 7. To do this homework, we are going to need to click on the important resources module in our Canvas page and click on the grade 7 reference sheet. Have this up just like me, maybe in another tab, or have it printed out if you have a printer. Another tab works fine because we're going to need these two formulas, percent error formula and percent of change formula. All right. Let's first zoom in. Go. Question 1. In 1980, the average price of gas was $1.23. In 2015, the average price of gas was $2.64. Find the percent change in the average price of gas. Round to the nearest hundredth. That's important. Round to the nearest hundredth. If necessary, determine if the percent change is an increase or decrease. Percent change. So it looks like we're going to use the percent change formula. I'm going to do a new snip. Get this on my percent change formula. Sweet. Okay, we are looking for the final value and initial value. So our two numbers here are 1.23 and 2.64. Initial means start. So at this story, what is the start of the story? What is the initial value? Nice, 1.23. That is the start. Initial value is 1.23. Notice how I'm replacing the initial value with the number. That was kind of cluttered. Not going to write it like that. 1.23 minus something over 1.23 times 100. Okay, my initial value, I've got both those. Check, check. Now I need the final value, which is the end of the story, 2.64. That's the end of my story, my final value, 2.64. Now with my calculator's help, let's find the answer. 2.64 minus 1.23. Now, it's very important that I click the equal sign first before clicking the divide. So that way my calculator knows to do the minus first. Or I could have used parentheses to tell my calculator that I want to minus first. I'm going to click the equal button first, though. 2.64 minus 1.23 equals that, divided by 1.23 equals times by 100 equals this number. And I'm rounding to the nearest hundredth. So I need to look at the thousandths place. Is the thousandths place closer to 0 or 10? Closer to 0. So it rounds down. So my answer is 114.63%. 114.63%. Is it a, looks like an accidental emoji got put there. Percent change is a increase because it's a positive percent. And I can tell from the story that the number went up. Check. Nice. Number 2, Jerry's new puppy weighs 11 pounds. Oh, 2 weeks ago, it weighed 10% less. How much did the puppy weigh 2 weeks ago? So this is kind of like a percent change question, but we already know the percent. So we don't need to use this formula. This formula is only for if we need to find out what the percent is. Okay, so 10% less of 11 pounds. There's a couple ways we can do this. So 11 pounds is what it weighs now. 2 weeks ago, it weighed 10% less. To find out what 10% less of 11 is, let's find out first what 10% of 11 is. 10% of 11, we learned this in our last video. This is the same as doing the decimal form of 10% times 11. Thank you, calculator. 0.10 times 11, 1.1. 10% of 11 is 1.1. So now if I'm taking 10% off of 11, or it is 10% less, I would do 11 minus 1.1, which would give me 11 minus 1.1, 9.9. Would give me 9.9. Let's see. That's right, 9.9. Check. No. Jerry's new puppy weighs 11 pounds. 2 weeks ago, it weighed 10% less. How much did the puppy weigh? It weighs, we minus, find 10%. Okay, we are gonna fast forward these, maybe look at the hints too that come with it. Total percent X, total percent times weight 2 weeks ago equals weight now. Turn a percent into a decimal. 2 weeks ago, it weighed 10% less. How much did the puppy weigh 2 weeks ago? So 2 weeks ago, it weighed 10% less, which means it's 90% of the pounds. Okay, so I think I know what the question's trying to ask. I think question 2 is poorly worded. That's why we're here watching the video together. Okay, that is wrong. Don't know. At least my numbers. Maybe your numbers work fine. But if you get a problem with this question, make sure to send me a message to fix it. Because it looks like, yep, we did do it right. But I don't know why the correct answer was 10. Maybe it wanted us, don't know why. But we did that one right. Moving on. So if I was you, I would have sent me a Canvas message asking me to fix this. Okay, question 3. A company that makes bags of chips states that their bag of chips contains 15% more chips in the bag. If the original bag of chips contained 27 ounces, how many ounces are in the bag of chips? So the original has 27. The new one has 15% more. So it's not a percent error question. We would know because it would be asking for what's the percent error. It's not asking for the percent of change because it gives us the percent of change. So we're going to find 15% of 27 and then add that amount to 27 because we're going more. So 27. First, let's find 15% of 27. Then we will add that to 27. 15% of 27 is the same as 0.15 times 27, which is 4.05. 4.05 plus 27 is 31.05. Thank you, calculator. And this is 15% more. 4.05 is my 15%. More means I'm adding than 27. 15% more than 27. 15% plus 27, 31.05. Come on, 31.05. Good. Question 4. The 7th grade class for Bowens Middle School has 137 students this year. Heyo. Last year, there were 203 students in 7th grade class. Find the percent decrease, round to the nearest tenth. That's important, round to the nearest tenth. Okay, it's asking for the percent, so let's use the percent change formula. Percent change formula. I need the final value and the initial value to use this formula. Final value, initial value. The initial value means the start. Final value means the end. Which number comes first in this story? Nice. Last year, there were 203. That came first because this is this year. Last year, this year. 203 came first. So 203 is my initial value. 203 times 100. Now I need the final value, the end of the story. This year, 137. 137. Now in my calculator, I'm going to finish out this problem. 137 minus 203 equals negative 66. It's important you push the equals button or use parentheses so that way your calculator knows to subtract before dividing. Now I will divide, then I will times negative 32.5. Did it say round to the nearest tenth? Yes, it did. Negative 32.5%. Because 1 is closer to 0 and rounds down. Okay, let's see if negative 32.5. Let's see if it wants the percent in there or not. I'm not sure, but we're going to find out. Negative 32.5%. Does it want the negative sign? Yes, it does. Okay, make sure to put the negative sign. Question 5. A candle was 11 inches tall before. Candle was 11 inches tall before begin burned. Wow, caveman talk. After a week, the candle's height is now 7 inches tall. What is the percent decrease in height? Round to the nearest tenth of a percent. So same formula. It's asking for the percent of change. So let's find the percent of change. We need the final value and the initial value. Which number happened first in this story, 10 or 11? Nice. The number 11 happened first. You bought the candle. It was 11 inches tall. 11 is the initial value times 100. The final value is 7. So I'm going to replace where final value is with the number 7. Now I can use my handy dandy calculator to finish the job. 7 minus 11. It's really important to click the equal sign or use parentheses if you're using a calculator, so that way your calculator knows to subtract before divide. Now I'll do divide by 11 equals times by 100 equals. My question said to round to the nearest tenth of a percent. So I'm going to look at the hundredth place. Is 6 closer to 10 or closer to 0? 6 is closer to 10. So I'm going to round up, making this negative 36.4. Negative 36.4. Don't forget that percent sign. Check. Oh, yeah. Question 6. Marcia was taking her dog to the vet for his afternoon checkup. She estimated that he weighed about 11 pounds. Another typo. The vet weighed the dog and determined the actual weight is 18.5. Find the percent error of Marcia's estimation of her dog's weight. Round to the nearest whole percent. Find the percent error. We're going to use the percent error formula. Oh my goodness. Thank goodness we read that whole question. Otherwise, it would have been really confusing what to do. Percent error, percent error. Okay, so I need the estimated value and the actual value to do this question. Estimated, actual, estimated, actual. Which one of these numbers, let me pull this back up, move it down a little bit. Here we go. Which one of these numbers is the estimated value? Nice. The number 11 puns is the estimated value. It says right there, she estimated he weighed 11 puns. It's supposed to say pounds. 11 minus. Notice how I'm doing my absolute value bars. Don't forget those, just like it has in the example formula. If 11 is my estimated, then the actual weight, it also says right here, actual is 18.05. 18.05. 18.05. Now I can use my calculator to finish the job. 11 minus 18.05. Make sure to click that equal sign before you divide. So that way your calculator knows to subtract first. Equals, but we are doing absolute value. So if it's a negative, that turns it into a positive. If it's a positive, it stays positive. But if it's a negative, it flips into a positive. So positive 7.05 divided by 18.05 equals times by 100 equals 39 what do I round to? The nearest whole percent. So if I'm rounding to the nearest whole percent, I look at the tenths place. Is 0 closer to 0 or 10? 0. So rounds down, making this 39%. Don't forget that percent sign. Make sure percent error questions are always positive. Yay. Question 7. Mr. Jones estimates that he will spend $138 at the grocery store on his weekly budget. He spends $172 on groceries. What is the percent error of his estimated spending? Round to the nearest hundredth of a percent. What is the percent error? So we're going to use, you guessed it, the percent error formula again. Oh, yeah. Nice. Okay. Which one of these two numbers is my estimated value? Nice. 138. It says right there, Mr. Jones estimates he will spend 138. So don't forget your absolute value bars when you are making your equation. Times 100. So I put in the estimated. Now I need the actual value. How much did he actually spend on groceries? Yep, $172. 172. Now let's use our handy dandy calculator to finish the job. 138 minus 172 equals, it's really important to click that equal sign before the divide or to use parentheses. So that way your calculator knows to subtract before dividing. Now, 138 minus 172 is negative 34, but that is the absolute value of negative 34. Can't forget about those absolute value bars. What is the absolute value of negative 34? Positive 34. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Positive 34. Absolute value of a negative is a positive. Absolute value of a positive is also a positive. So let's type in positive 34 divided by 172 equals times 100 equals, what was I rounding to? Round to the nearest hundredth of a percent. So I am rounding to the hundredth of a percent. So I'm going to look at the thousandths place. Is 7 closer to 10 or 0? It's closer to 10, so I round up, making this 19.77%. Don't forget that percent sign. Yay! Last question. Last year, the school had that many students enrolled. This year, the school has this many students enrolled. What is the percent increase in student enrollment? Round to the nearest whole percent. What is the percent increase? What is the percent of change? Oh my goodness. What is the percent of change? So we're going to use the percent change formula, the percent increase. Which one of, so I need the final value and the initial value, or the last value, the ending value, and the beginning, the first value. Which one of these numbers happens first in the story if it was like a timeline? Which one happened first? Which is the oldest number? Nice. 1,373, because it happened last year. It happened first in this story. So our initial value is 1,373. Let me build my equation. 1,373, initial value. Okay, now my final value, my last number in the story is 1,685, because that happens after my other number. Now I'm going to use my handy dandy calculator to finish the job. 1685 minus 1373. It is really important to click this equal sign or to use parentheses in your calculator so your calculator knows to subtract before dividing. Equals 312 divided by 1373 equals times 100 equals, what do I round to? The nearest whole percent. So if I'm rounding to the nearest whole percent, I need to look at the tenths place. Does 7 round up? Is 7 closer to 10 or closer to 0? 7's closer to 10, so it rounds up, making this 23%. Rounds up. Don't forget that percent sign. Yay! All right. If you need any more help with this question, or if question 2 gives you trouble like it gave me, make sure to message me for help on Canvas. Good luck. Bye.